Hi Terence, I'd like to thank you for joining us on Cell to Cell Health and giving us a rundown what's on metabolic typing and of health and nutrition and give us what's your area of forte.
Okay.
Just take it from there.
Sure. Well, glad you could have me, David. My name is Terence Carfrae. I work from Studio ALIGN on the Gold Coast, and I'm here to tell you a little bit about what I do and the perspective on nutrition especially that I have encountered in my studies.
So, Terence, with all this about metabolic typing, could you explain further what it really all entails?
Yeah, metabolic typing, it was a wonderful system devised by Dr. William Walcott out of San Diego in the United States. He's quite an amazing doctor, and he was able to take the works of Weston Price and Roger Williams and have a look at how food reacts in the body. And his basic premise for metabolic typing is that there is no one-size-fits-all diet. So in contrast to the diets that have been proposed by Dr. Atkins, which was a very high-fat, high-protein diet, on one end of the spectrum, and on the other end of the spectrum you've got the Nathan Pritikin diet, which was very low-fat, minimal amounts of protein and a lot of carbohydrate. William Walcott devised a system in its most simplest sense that individualized nutrition to every person that he was treating. And the premise was that everyone has a different nutritional requirement, and it's somewhere on the balance between the Atkins diet and the Pritikin diet. So yeah, that's what metabolic typing is, and it relies on a series of questionnaires that allows each individual to determine exactly what their metabolic type is and exactly what foods they should be eating to optimize their health.
So none of these professionals were really wrong or right. They were just coming at it from a different angle and looking at it sort of like as we were explaining earlier, what's the dietary habits of Northern Europeans as opposed to those that come from warmer climates.
Well, that's exactly right, and this is why there was so much success on behalf of Dr. Atkins, and you could read about all the testimony of the success that he had. Yet it was in complete contrast to what Dr. Pritikin was saying, and he had great success as well. And the moral of that story was they would select the people that their diet worked for, and they'd tell you all about that. No, they weren't wrong, and no, they weren't right. They had a piece of the puzzle, and what it required was someone to come along and find all those little pieces of the puzzle that worked and put them together to get the big picture.
Exactly, yeah, right, yeah. So what would you say would be the relationship between diet and physical expression?
Physical expression?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a great question. The foods that we eat are determined, or the foods that we should eat are determined by our body. So there's two aspects to answer this question. What physical expression your body has currently determines what your food's requirements are. As an example, the shape of your stomach, it varies between people quite dramatically, and the shape of one person, my stomach for example, may predispose me to certain types of foods compared to David, your stomach shape, which would predispose you most definitely to different foods than I would be consuming. So that physical expression that you currently have definitely determines what foods that you should be eating. On the other side of the coin, you've got how those foods that you eat determine how you express your physical form. And we've got a tremendous rate of obesity in our nation at the moment. Yeah, sad to see. And so we see foods that these people are eating are creating a physical expression that is quite evident to those around that is unhealthy. And you have others that have a very lean, muscular, well-defined frame, and the foods that they are eating are most likely contributing to that physical form. So the foods that you eat will contribute to how your body expresses itself, what shape it takes on, where you store body fat, and how much body fat you store. Also, the shape of your bone structure, your skeleton, your posture, and your organs will be determined by how well you feed your body.
So would you say that we've gotten out of touch in terms of our diets because of our modern society?
That would, in my opinion, be a very strong understatement. I think we are well out of touch with the foods that we should be eating. I base my my work off a premise of what people were eating 10,000 years ago, and the concept of 10,000 years is quite important because it was the time in which we didn't have farms to rely on, domesticated animals and domesticated plants for our food, and so people were eating what they had been eating for the previous millions of years, and this was when they were very much in touch with their food, and if they didn't eat the correct foods, then disease quickly ensued. Today we're seeing disease quickly ensuing, and it's in large part due to the foods that we're eating. Yeah, so we are out of touch with food.
So I mean, like we have obviously with the process of refining foods and changing and what's in modern farming practices, we obviously change what's the nature of what we eat, and now we're starting to go towards the organic approach, and which is also, I mean, it's definitely a good one.
Yeah.
But do you think that there is like well, what exactly is the hype? What's around? What's the organic? What's the diets?
Well, yeah, there's a lot of information around organic that is both pro and con organics. In the last 10 years I have read numerous studies, and I could probably provide for every 10 studies that you say to me prove that organics is good, I could seek out 10 studies that say that organics is the same, if not worse, than conventional. Fortunately, there was a study just recently released this year, 2007, in Europe, a 4-year study that now has conclusively shown that organic food is far superior than conventionally raised food. And for those of us that eat organics, this comes as no surprise. We're well aware of this. It tastes better, it looks better, it makes our bodies feel better, and it sates us more. So we're not hungry soon after eating organic food because our body is getting the nutrition that it requires. So when someone asks me, is the hype around organic warranted, I'd have to say absolutely, absolutely. Right. The illustration that I use for this would be if you had one conventionally raised apple and compared it to an organically raised apple and had a look at the nutritional profile of those two apples. They found that the organic apple had up to 5 times the nutritional value than the conventionally raised apple. So if we talk in money terms there, we could say that for every 5 conventional apples that you'll buy, you'll equate that to 1 organic apple. And if you had a 25% more price range on the organic apple, you're well ahead because you're getting 5 times the nutrition for only 25% more investment. So yeah, it's definitely warranted. And
less time expenditure, in the eating process as well.
Well, some of us enjoy the eating
but
process.
At least,
so
yeah, at least we're getting more enjoyment out of that one apple, which is amazing.
That's
as well.
Right. That's right.
So when it comes to yourself and of course your clients, Terence, you deal with 6 foundational, principles. What are exactly the differences with those?
Okay, the 6 foundational principles arose from the need to have a look at the body holistically. And this catchphrase, holistic health, in my mind, it means having a look at the entire organism, the body, mind and spirit, and everything contained therein. So with my process of looking at these 6 foundational principles, I broke it down into what I deemed to be the most important in order of priority. The first one being your thoughts. Without doubt, thoughts are the most important aspect to your health. The concept of thinking positively is definitely part of that. The term psychosomatic was coined in the 1800s and has been used extensively since then, and that linked the mind and the body for the first time in Western medicine. And since then, with the advances in neurolinguistic programming and quantum theory, it has shown that the mind is a very, very powerful tool in manifesting health in your body. In fact, it is the most powerful tool. And so I focus on that, number one. The second thing would be the breath. Cross cultures, cross countries, breath has been used as the foundational principle for physical health. It is the single most vital function that we perform, and it is very important to perform it correctly. To give a quick rundown, breathe through the nose, breathe diaphragmatically, and be aware of your breathing. And if you could do those things, your health will certainly improve as a result. The next thing on the list of priorities would be hydration. And I think it was Dr. Batman Gearlich who wrote a book, Your Body's Many Cries for Water, that suggested that up to 80 to 90% of doctors' visits could be alleviated. You could remove the need to go to a doctor if people were just hydrated to the right level. That's how many diseases tend to arise from dehydration. And so that's number 3 on the list of the 6. Number 4 is diet, is the food. Everyone knows about the food, and I break it down to 2 simple things. I've talked about metabolic typing. That would come under the quantity concept, and then the quality concept would be the organic, or as close to organic, or even better, biodynamic that you can get. So quality and quantity when we look at food. And the next one is number 5 on the list, is exercise. Pretty low on the list of priorities. A lot of people put it a lot higher than that. When I look at it, and I work extensively with postural correction and injury rehabilitation as well, looking at lower back specifically, I find that exercise is number 5 on the list definitely, and it's a very important factor. For most people, I would suggest that if you were to embrace one aspect of exercise, to make it walking. And as Hippocrates said, walking is man's most important medicine, or one of man's best medicines. And I would say, at a minimum, try to get 20 minutes of walking in a day would serve your body very well. And the last one is circadian rhythms. We got to the end of the list, number 6, circadian rhythms, and that's your sleeping, waking cycles. And essentially that is just make sure you get enough sleep in the evening. And people ask me, how much sleep do I need? And I have a very simple answer for that. How long is the night? Yeah, we are daytime animals, and whether we agree with that or not, our bodies are designed under that principle. And when the sun comes up, we should get up, and when the sun goes down,
when you're ready to wake up, yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Beautifully simple, isn't it? Yeah. I love it. I love it.
I like you. Yeah, just turn the alarm clock off and just.
Yeah, hey, use the sun. Open your curtains in the morning. It could do you wonders. Yeah.
Well, I'd like to thank you for your time, Terence.
Oh, thank you,
great.
David.
A lot of good information in that, and yeah, I'm sure everybody will benefit from it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.